Guys, this is literally the cheapest way to start a garden. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome back to Garden and Grease. Today, we're gonna start our winter sowing. I'm gonna show you what seeds I'm gonna be winter sowing this year, and I'll go over exactly how I do my winter sowing, even though we do a video, and I'm gonna link it in the description below of our winter sowing from last year. And I'm gonna show you some successes, which pretty much everything was a success. I'm gonna put those on the screen every now and then to show you those. Now, for tools that you're gonna need, for containers, I prefer the milk jugs. I've done 2-liter soda bottles. I've done smaller soda bottles, not this small, but like soda bottles like this. I've done other types of containers, and my favorite is the milk jug, just because I can put enough soil in it. I have enough head height for growth. I have a handle, and they're pretty durable. I have a big enough hole opening for water to get in, even though we will create some more holes in it. So that is the containers that I prefer to winter sow in, but you can use just about any bottle that sunlight can get through. And you can use like totes, like clear totes. If you have some big ones, you could use those. I've never done the larger clear totes, so that might be a really great idea. You're gonna need some scissors to cut your container if you're using milk jugs or a soda bottle or something along those lines. Now you can use for making your holes in the bottom. I used a drill last year and that was super easy. You could use the scissors to poke it, or like a soldering iron or like a heating type of element to melt the plastic to make your holes in it. A writing device, which my garden marker was like the best, even for putting on the outside of the plastic. I can't find that right now, but you're gonna want a marker of some sort. You're gonna need tags. Now, even though I mark it on the outside, I also like to put a tag on the inside, especially if you're doing more than one type of seed in a container. You're gonna need tape. Now, this is duct tape. That's what I used, and it worked perfect for me. I don't know about using clear tape. I don't know if that would hold as well, but I know that the duct tape held really well for me. You're obviously gonna need soil. My preferred soil is actually just outdoor potting soil, not seed starting mix. You need something that has a little bit of nutrition in it, because we're not really going to be tending to these after they sprout, not very much at least. So you're going to want a potting mix that has some kind of nutrition already in it. I also, depending on the seeds that I'm sowing, if they require light to germinate, I like to put a little vermiculite on top of them, just a thin little coat of vermiculite on top. And you're gonna need water. Okay, the first thing that I like to do is to put my holes in the bottom and a couple in the top of my container. So whether you're poking your holes with your scissors or drilling them or whatever, you're gonna wanna do it before you cut it open. So scissors will do a hole like that, and that's just fine. Okay, well I couldn't find my drill bit, so I found my little like hot iron thing. So all I'm gonna do is take this hot iron and I'm gonna poke holes. You can see that one. Just a bit of a small bit on this one, so I'm gonna have to put a bunch of holes in it. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of holes there, and then I'm also going to put some on the top just for some more rainwater to get in. So that hole is pretty decent, but we want extra snow to melt down in there, rainwater to enter in. Right here. All right, so I got a bunch of holes in it. Holes in the bottom. All right, you'll do that to all of your jugs. Okay, now that we have our holes on the bottom, our holes on the top, and no cap, we are going to cut out the main body of it. And I like to keep a hinge here, so we're not going to cut along this here. We're gonna start out about here, and be careful. And now I'm gonna start cutting along, and it's not fancy or straight by any means until we get to right about there. And it creates a hinge. Now, I like to come in a little bit more. You see how not straight that was? I don't know if you could tell, but so that's what we have. Now, this is our pot, essentially, our growing container, and we are done with it. Now we need to put our soil in here. So like I said, you really need to use a potting mix that has some kind of fertilizer in it, something for nutrition for our seedlings once they start to grow out of that cotyledon phase. So I brought some into the house. I have 2 big bags on the back porch, and they were frozen into solid blocks. So I chunked it up and put it in this bucket and brought it in the house to warm it up enough that it wouldn't be a frozen block. Now, I think that these bags were some kind of off-brand. I can't really, oh wait, no. Bags of soil that I got were the Kellogg's Organic Potting Mix. So I'll try to take a picture and put that on the screen up in here, maybe right here. All right, so I'm going to put soil in this. And the soil is kind of moist. It's been frozen, so there was, liquid in it. It was moist to begin with. And I've got like this green pan, and I'll put a clip, let you see a little bit better here, that I use when I do any seeds starting in the house, just to keep my tables and everything a little cleaner. So this is my green container that I have, just like a tabletop potting area, and that's how much soil I put in here. I have a little bit of space. So now what seeds? am I going to put in this container and the many other containers that I am preparing? So the very first thing that I'm going to do today is something that I've actually never winter sown. I've seen other people do it really well, and it makes complete sense to me, and that is my onions. So onions are something that I start like right now. We are like mid-January, sometime between now and the beginning of February. I start indoors. My last expected last frost is April 21st, somewhere around in there. So these need a lot of time to grow some roots and to get some green growing before they go outside. I put them outside before the last frost. Sometime in like March, I'll put them out and I'll look at the weather and see, and sometimes I have to put some kind of cover. If we're gonna get a hard frost, I will kind of cover them up a little bit to protect them. So the great thing about growing the onions in the winter sowing method is that I don't have to tend to them inside and make sure they're constantly have enough moisture, that the lights are right. The sun will be my lighting, so I don't have to have my lights on for as long in my indoor growing setup, using electricity and taking up space. And I'm not gonna have to really babysit these at all until I'm ready to rip this container open and plant them into the garden. So that is my number one thing I'm gonna do this year. I've seen other people have really great success, and if I don't, I was actually contemplating on getting onion starts, not sets, but onion starts at my local ag store. They sell them, so I was contemplating on getting them anyways because it's a really long indoor growing period. So, and I'm really trying to avoid really growing too many things indoors. I kind of went a little crazy last year, a little too many plants, and I got a little burnt out on it, if I'm going to be totally honest. I don't want to have garden burnout this year at all, and I definitely don't want to start it early before plants even go outside. I have quite a few things that I'm going to winter sow. I'm starting now. I'm not going to do all of them today. I'm going to do a couple here, a couple there until they're all done, and a lot of them don't need to go out right now anyway. but the ones that do need to go out right now are anything that needs cold stratified. Okay, so cold stratification is a period of time that your seeds will stay cold, and sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60, and sometimes it's 90. And by cold, I don't mean they actually want to be frozen, so you don't want to put them in the freezer necessarily, but we kind of are when we put them outside. I'm going to put the temperatures for perfect cold stratification right up here on the screen. I can't remember what they exactly are. I think it's between 35 and 45 for whatever that time period is. And in the time that they're in these containers and they're outside, we get that time frame if we're starting now. Actually, winter sowing can start anytime after the winter solstice. So December 20 something, 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. Anytime after that period, you can start your winter sowing. So for me, the things that I want to do now, and not that they necessarily need cold stratified, but I also do my perennials right now. Any native plants I will do right now. So I'm gonna do the spotted jewelweed, which is in this little container because I purchased it from somebody on Etsy a couple months ago. Mullein, however you want to pronounce that. And Joe Pye weed, that's a native. Some seeds I collected from my obedient plant. It's a perennial, native, I believe so. And Nigella, Love in a Mist. These are a cool season flower. So any of your cool flowers, you can do your snapdragons, anything that you want to bloom a little earlier in the spring, you can with your cool season flowers like your Nigella, your snapdragons, stuff like that. Your cool flowers you can grow now. I'm also doing our poppies. This is supposed to be a perennial poppy. And then I love these other poppies. So we're gonna be doing these. These are some I've grown in previous years and love them. I'm also doing salvia. This one is St. John Fire. I've never done this one, but I've done other salvias this way and they come out beautifully. I'm also doing my Colorado blend Yarrow. And then these are my snapdragons. And these ones are my favorite. These turned out pretty amazing. They're the Orange Wonder. They're beautiful. I did quite a bit of snapdragons this past year. I did the winter sowing method and they were just amazing. And then the tall blend, I'm doing those two just because I have so many seeds left. I didn't buy any new seeds yet for the year. I'm using some of my older ones. So those are the ones that I'm gonna work on this week getting done, and then I'm gonna wait, and then as I have time over the course of the next month or so, I'm going to start my broccoli. So these ones are the Green Magic broccoli from Johnny's. I've got cauliflower, the robber cauliflower, Red Acres cabbage. So these are all cool season plants, and that is why I'm doing these annuals, vegetables, in the winter sowing method, is because they're cool season plants. So my brassicas, I got kale, spinach, and lettuces, and the lettuces and spinach and all that, I can wait to do those as long as it's, you know, still cool out and it's before the time that I would have been starting them in the house anyway. I can do them in the winter sowing method. I'm also going to do my calendula that way, and my chamomile, my dill, mint, and oregano, and something else. Oh yeah, my dill, mint, and oregano. So I do a lot of my herbs this way and it turns out really good. So I do want to mention that some of the seeds I don't start with the winter sowing method are like my true summer plants. Tomatoes, peppers, squash. I mean, squash grows so fast anyway. Things of that nature, I don't even attempt to do this method with. Okay, so back to our container that we have prepared. I'm gonna do some of these Walla Walla onions in here. Now, you know, I'm not doing as many flowers this year. because I did a ton last year. I did a ton of perennials. So the flowers that you see that I'm doing, the poppies and salvia and stuff, that's the extent of all the flowers that I'm actually going to be doing this year. So let me show you that many. I'm going to put more in here than that actually. I've densely seed sown onions before and they turned out pretty good, but I don't want to get too crazy. So I'm going to try to kind of position these a couple inches apart. Okay, so my package says that they need to be a 1/4 inch deep. Now I could push each one in, or see, this is kind of chunky. I don't really like the super chunky stuff. We're gonna sprinkle over top. Or you could use the vermiculite, especially if it says only, you know, kind of put a dusting over them. You can just use vermiculite for that. Okay, now the soil that was down in here was already damp, and that's important too, is I have pre-moistened soil. This soil was already in the bag, pretty darn damp, but the stuff I just put on top is drying out. So I'm gonna now moisten them. And this is gonna be hopefully the last time you're gonna have to water them for a long time. Once the sun starts coming up and your temperatures are getting higher, you're going to start paying attention to these. You're gonna, if it's been really hot and dry out, you haven't had rain, you're gonna literally just, I hose over top of them. Some people take them and they set them down inside of a container of water so that it can wick it up. That's a really great idea. I just usually have too many of these containers to do that. So I don't bother with all that. I just run the hose over top or down in the hole and make sure everything gets nice and moist. Now, before I close this, I like to indicate on a tag inside, just in case if something happens to the outside, especially since I don't have my garden marker, what seeds I put in here. So I'm putting the Walla Walla Sweet. Just gonna put Walla Onion. And then today, I don't know, it's somewhere around the 12th, I think, 1/12/25. Like that. And I just kind of tuck it down back in here. All right, now on the outside, before I forget, I'm gonna put the Walla. Is that with a 1 or 2 else? That's a 2. Okay, that makes sense. The Walla Onion, 1/12, I believe, 25. Now, I do have some containers I'm using from last year, and I washed them out at the end of the season last year. I'm gonna wash them again just in case, and they do still have the name on them, so I'm gonna kind of go over top of the name on my last year's containers with a piece of tape and just write the new one on it. Now, something that I like to do here with my tape is cut a length of it off first. A pretty decent length of it, and then start where my hinge was kind of cut off there. I'll try to show you here. My hinge, and then come around, follow my cut, and back around. Ooh, that was perfect length. I didn't think I was gonna be right on the money there. Now, I make sure that we don't have any holes, you know, exposed around the cut. We wanna have a good seal there. We're creating essentially a little mini greenhouse. So I'm gonna do this with all of the seeds that I wanna winter sow. And like I said, I'm not gonna do them all today. I'm gonna do them over the course of the next month, essentially. All right, so now, I literally put them inside of one of my raised garden beds. I like that it's raised. I make sure it's an area that it gets full sun for the most part. It's a little shaded, hit and miss there. You know, it's in my backyard. It's my normal growing space though throughout summer. So I put them there. I've heard a lot of people say, don't put them in full sun, make sure they're in a shaded area, all these things. Okay, for one, you don't want them under an overhang of your house because then you're gonna definitely have to go out and water them. You want them out and exposed. You want them, especially when it's cold out like this, you want them getting full sun. You want them getting rained on. You want all of that. You want snow to get on top of them, and it kind of insulates them. And then when the snow melts, it helps moisten them. You want all of that. The problem with the full sun could come in as an issue when it starts to get really warm out and sunny out. So when it starts getting really hot and sunny out, but you haven't hit your last frost yet, because you know we'll have that crazy weather, you may find that you'll need to put them in shaded areas. So towards the end of that time before my last frost, we would have some days be in the 70s and 80s, and then we'd have a frost the next day. But so I would take them and actually put them just down on the ground below, because I put mine in my raised bed so they're exposed all the time. Well, depending on the way the sun comes, so I would take it at the end of the day where the heat of the sun would be coming. Anywhere where there was a shadow from my raised beds, I would set them alongside the raised beds where it would get shaded for a little while. Or like if it's just really hot in the middle of the day, I would put them somewhere where they were gonna get shaded for the heat of the middle of the day. I would put them in a shaded spot, and then hopefully remember to go put them back out. So in the morning they got sun again. Sometimes I remembered, sometimes I didn't. And that's okay too, because all of them turned out beautifully whenever I did open them. So resist the urge to open these. All right, that's really hard. I literally look down in the hole of mine like every single day. So it's good though that you're looking in them, like looking down in the hole, because you want to see if it's like wet in there, if it's excessively wet, maybe get them up off the ground a little bit if you'd had a ton of rain, like nonstop for a while, and you want to make sure you kind of maybe get them up off of the soil and maybe put them up on top of something for a little while if it's just been too wet out, because you can develop some green algae. It's normal, but if you start getting like a wicked amount of mold or something in there, you're gonna want to put these somewhere where they're not going to be sitting in standing water, and that could sometimes be your soil. If you've had a lot of rain, you have like really clay soil like ours. If you guys can think of something that I have missed or any comments you have, put them into the description. I respond to all comments as quickly as possible. So pop it down in the comments, and we're gonna end up having some more videos about winter sowing this year. So if you have really good ideas or a great comment, a question that somebody else might like to hear, I will add that into other videos regarding our winter sowing. Guys, we make videos here on Garden and Grease about everything to do with developing our backyard homestead. That's gardens, chickens, preserving our harvest, cooking with our harvest, and making things for our home, like our salves and our lotions and stuff like that. Neither of us were raised doing this kind of stuff, so we've been learning a lot of this over the past few years, or for me, I've been gardening for majority of my adult life. So some of this we've been doing for a little while, but neither of us were raised doing this. So it's really great showing you guys our journey through backyard homesteading with what we have. We have a yard. We don't have a lot of property, but we still manage to have chickens and have wonderful vegetables from our garden, a pantry full of jars of food that we have preserved ourselves, which feels really great. If you guys are interested in videos like that and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It's free to you and priceless to our little channel. Thank you. Hey guys, thank you for watching another episode of Garden and Grease. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that like button. Thank you. Have a good one.